Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about misplaced and dangling modifiers. But before we do that, I want to talk about what a modifier is. A modifier is just any word, clause, or phrase that describes another word, clause, or phrase. So for example, adjectives are probably the first modifier you learn about, okay? So in this example, last week, Gary bought a green apple, okay? Green is my modifier. Apple is the modified word. Okay, so it's a very simple example, but anytime I talk about a modifier, that's just what I'm talking about, something that is describing something else. Okay, now in English, we put modifiers as close to the thing they're modifying as possible, because otherwise it's a little confusing. We can't really figure out what's going on. So some examples: Marissa, whom I care about very much, missed dance rehearsal last night. So this clause in the middle, whom I care about very much, that's modifying Marissa. And notice how they're right next to each other. Okay, laying in Claire's yard, the puppy needed a rest after a long game of fetch. Same thing, laying in Claire's yard is a phrase modifying the word puppy. Okay, so they're right next to each other. All right, Maxwell took a huge bite of the pizza on the plate. Okay, so here we have a prepositional phrase modifying the pizza, and again, notice they're right next to each other. Okay, now when we're reading, we're going to automatically assume that whatever modifier, whether it's a phrase, a clause, a word, okay, it's going to be modifying the word that's either right before it or right after it. Okay, now one mistake that writers tend to do, right, is putting a modifier too far away from its target. Okay, and the target is just the word it's modifying. Okay, so think of it like when you're writing, that's your target and you're trying to shoot the modifiers as close to that target as possible. Okay, now whenever we put a modifier too far away from the word it's modifying, it makes the sentence unclear or confusing. Okay, so we can see an example here. Glenn took down the shutters painting the house earlier. Now, the way this is written right now, it sounds like the shutters were painting the house. Okay, not like Glenn was. Now, we can figure out what the sentence means if we think about it, just using common sense, but it's not the clearest way to write it, okay? So the best way would be to say, painting the house earlier, comma, Glenn took down the shutters. So this time, I have the correct modifier right next to my target, Glenn, okay? Here's another example. Lisa brought pancakes to the table doused in syrup. Again, doused in syrup looks like it's describing the table, okay, which hopefully is not doused in syrup, because that'd be really gross. So a better way to say it would be, Lisa brought pancakes doused in syrup to the table. So this time, doused in syrup, the phrase is next to its target word, pancakes. All right, so let's talk about how to actually fix this. So if you notice a situation where you've written a sentence that has a misplaced modifier that's making the sentence confusing, how do you fix it? Now, usually it's pretty simple. You just take the modifier, whether it's a phrase, a clause, or a word, and you move it closer to the word it's trying to modify, closer to its target. Okay, so here is this sentence. Drinking warm water from a rubber hose, envious looks were shot Roland's way as the other picnickers quenched their own thirst. Okay, so right now I kind of have no idea what the sentence is talking about. There's like a hose, there's a guy named Roland, people are on a picnic. It's confusing, okay? But if we move things around and the modifier gets closer to its target, it makes more sense. Drinking warm water from a rubber hose, the other picnickers quenched their own thirst as they shot envious looks Roland's way. Okay? Now we see that the picnickers are drinking from the hose, and apparently Roland has some kind of awesome drinking situation that doesn't involve the hose, so they're a little jealous of him. Okay? So let's take a look at each of these following sentences, and we're going to try to revise them so they make more sense. Okay? So in the kitchen, Maria put her plate. All right, so right now it just sounds a little bit weird. I'm assuming that Maria is putting her plate in the kitchen. So we want to move this modifier in the kitchen, this phrase, to be closer to its target plate. Okay, so I'm going to say in the kitchen, Maria, oops, sorry. I'm not going to say that because that's the exact same sentence. I'm going to say Maria put her plate in the kitchen. Okay, so this time my modifying prepositional phrase in the kitchen is right next to its target plate, so my sentence makes more sense. It's clearer. All right, on the fire escape, I found the missing broom. So same kind of situation as the earlier sentence. On the fire on the fire escape is modifying the target broom, but it's all the way on the other side of the sentence from it. Okay? So in order to fix this sentence, I'm just going to move that phrase around to the end. So I found the missing broom on the fire escape. And make sure that as I do this, you are filling these in on your paper as well. All right. Janine left her new computer bag in a big hurry. So I'm assuming the bag is not in a big hurry. That wouldn't really make much sense. I'm assuming Janine's in a big hurry. So I'm going to need to move this modifier over to be closer to Janine. So I'm just going to put it at the beginning of the sentence. In a big hurry, Janine left her new computer bag. Okay. All right. She watched the boys play sitting in her rocking chair. My next sentence. Well, I've got this pronoun her. So I'm guessing it's not the boys that are playing in the rocking chair because we wouldn't really call them her. So I'm going to guess that sitting in her rocking chair is describing she, not the boys, which means it needs to move to be closer to she. Okay? So I'm going to say sitting in her rocking chair, she watched the boys play. Sounds a little bit more like it makes sense. All right, running away, I tried to grab the dog. So I'm assuming the dog is running away, and that's why we're trying to grab it. That's kind of what makes the most sense. So I'm going to move my modifier that's over here next to dog. So I tried to grab the dog. We could say the running away dog. So I'd put it next to it. Or I could say I tried to grab the dog that was running away. That sounds a little bit better. So sometimes you'll have to change the sentence a little bit more, add commas, add in some words to make it make a little bit more sense. All right, let's look at our next one. Stacked in the sink, I investigated the dirty dishes. So what I want y'all to do right now is I want you to rewrite this sentence for me. Okay, so hopefully you came up with something along the lines of I investigated the dirty dishes stacked in the sink. Or you could have said that were stacked in the sink, which were stacked in the sink. Doesn't matter. Okay? All right, so last page. So sometimes, and this is actually, I think, the more common mistake, at least for me, I tend to do this more often than I do a misplaced modifier, and that's to leave the target out completely, okay? And that means we have a dangling modifier, and that means it's just kind of hanging out there, and it's not actually modifying anything, okay? So let's look at the examples. In the lounge chair, the lamp made Josh's reading easier. Now, there's not actually like a good target here that's in the lounge chair. The lamp isn't in the lounge chair, though it's right next to the modifier right now. Josh's reading isn't in the lounge chair, okay? It's just Josh that's in the lounge chair. So I need to rewrite the sentence so I have a clear target, and my target is right next to the modifier, okay? So, corrected, in the lounge chair, Josh could easily read. Right, that one makes more sense. We're not wondering like what's going on. It's just clear. It flows a little bit better. Okay, now to fix a dangling modifier, you need to add a target to the sentence, and then you'll have to tweak the remaining words to make sure the sentence makes sense. So another example, with a sigh of pleasure, consumption of cucumber sandwiches commenced. Okay, we can know what's going on. People are very excited about eating cucumber sandwiches, but down here, with a sigh of pleasure, Roland began to consume cucumber sandwiches. Or after Roland sighed with pleasure, he began to consume cucumber sandwiches. So this time, we know who gets to eat the cucumber sandwiches. Okay, so we added a target. All right, so we want to do that same thing down here. So having finished the assignment, the TV was turned on. So here, it's not the TV that finished the assignment, I'm assuming. Okay, so I need to add a target and tweak my sentence a little bit. So I'm going to say, having finished the assignment, I turned on the TV. So this time, I actually have my target there that's being modified by having finished the assignment. Okay, let's look at the next one. After reading the original study, the article remains unconvincing. Okay, again, the article didn't read itself. So that doesn't really make sense. So I need to add a target. So I'm going to say, after reading the original study, he found the article unconvincing. Okay, so now I actually have a target that is doing the reading. All right, relieved of your responsibilities at your job, your home should be a place to relax. Same kind of thing. The home doesn't have a job, it's not doing the relaxing, okay? So we need to add a target, right? So I'm going to say relieved of your responsibilities at your job, you should be able to relax at home. So here, I've added you as a target, okay, and now you is doing the relaxing and is relieved of the responsibilities of work. All right, they failed the experiment not having studied the lab manual carefully. So this last one, I want you to correct this on your own. Okay, so hopefully you came up with something that added a target. So, let's see. Okay, this one actually kind of had a target. So we more needed to just move it around. So they had not studied the manual carefully. So they, not having studied the lab manual carefully, failed the experiment. This one actually was a misplaced modifier. That was my bad. So this one was a misplaced modifier, but you got to correct it anyways. Alright, so hopefully we know what dangling and misplaced modifiers are. We'll do some more practice with this tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions.